The Gators are going through it. It's been a rough week on the recruiting trail, but what's up next for this once top 3 class? 3D commitments in the past week from top 150 prospects. You had Jamonte Waller on Saturday, Wardell Mack on Sunday, Nazir Johnson on Wednesday, and they all flipped to SEC rival schools. UF tumbles from number 3 to number 5 in the past 7 days, but if you follow recruiting, then you know you got to take the ups with the downs, and Florida isn't going to go down without a fight. They're actually on the offensive, working to land and flip a few key recruits before signing day. In this video, we're going to break it all down on what is next for the Florida Gators recruiting class. So Gator fans, right now, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We're almost to 25K. Help us get there, please. Lots of action on the way. Okay, let's bring on my guy, Corey Bender of Gators Online. And Corey, 3 decommitments in a week for UF, but like I said, still fighting. Here's a look at some of their key targets. 5-star offensive tackle Jordan Seaton, 4-star defensive lineman Dylan Evans, defensive lineman Mekhi Boye-Rowe, and another offensive tackle in favor Edwin. All right, start at the top with Jordan Seaton. We all know he's important. Where do you think right now the Gators stand with Seaton?
I would say Florida right now is slipping with him, and I would say it's the trend of the season. Just with a few, I thought the Arkansas game was a dagger as far as where you think Florida is projecting to go to finish out the year, and I think a lot of kids probably saw it that way. But at the same time, interest is still decently high. I'd be surprised if Florida didn't get a few in-home visits down the stretch. They already did get an official visit back for the Vanderbilt game, so. I would say right now, Florida's probably just outside the top 5, maybe at number 5 for him. But it's going to take a lot. I feel like down the stretch, I think NIL, I know that's important in his recruitment, but I think the in-home visits, a series of them is going to have to be – Florida's going to have to knock it out of the park to really kind of get back in it with him.
Yeah, and this is one that's going to go down to the end. This weekend, Seaton is in Knoxville. I don't think, though, he's going to make a decision until signing day. So you're right. Those in-home visits will be important. Now, this is a name, the next one we're going to hit on this list, Dylan Evans. He's committed to Texas A&M, but he's a familiar name to UF fans because back in June, it sure felt like Evans was about to flip to UF. Corey, what's gone on since then?
Yeah, so the plan all along was to come back for the Florida State game, but today he's actually getting surgery. So it's all going to determine his mobility and how well he can walk. And for Florida, I mean, that's going to be crucial. The other thing people have to realize, too, A&M can get another official with – if they have a coach in place by that time. So I think with Evans, Florida's the school pushing the hardest to flip him. Those relationships are very strong. He's visited twice, like you said, Josh, in OV in June. Then he was actually on campus in April as well. So he's getting a full court press from Florida. And I know the main thing when I talk to him is the relationships and the hospitality throughout campus that, highlight his interest. None of those have changed. So I think the biggest thing for Florida is they have to get him back to campus. You have schools like Alabama sniffing around, a lot of other schools down the stretch who are kind of looking for a top 100 guy. This Aggies commitment list is going to get invaded pretty bad, and he's one of the guys that's going to be a big priority.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, when we talk about Mekhi Boye-Rowe, this is an interesting one because he was committed to UF, then he decommitted. It looked like Georgia was going to scoop him up, but that hasn't happened yet. So where do the Gators stand on getting him back on that commitment list? Is it possible?
Yeah, I think it's real possible. I mean, all throughout the fall, I've always said I thought Florida was a school, even after he decommitted, still trending. He came for the Charlotte game, and he said, hey, I thought it was going to be awkward. I thought it was just going to be kind of weird. And he was the complete opposite. They really rolled out the red carpet, told him and his family, we love you guys. You guys have a home in Gainesville. So interest is very high. Mutual interest has not changed. He just wanted to kind of visit schools while he's not committed. The thing is, he went to the Georgia-Florida game. Obviously, Florida lost that one, and then he was supposed to go to the Arkansas game, and then he was a no-show. To me, when I saw that, I thought that was definitely kind of Florida slipping a little bit. He already took his OV as well. There's a chance he does come back for the Florida State game. I think that's a must for Florida. And the interesting part, too, is Georgia's side. They have a lot of D linemen in the class. Some JUCO players are going after who are more game-ready, obviously, compared to Burrow. So I think it's also going to depend on where Georgia sees him. And they just flipped Nazir Johnson from Florida. So I think, like you said, Josh, it's a very interesting recruitment. But I think as where Florida stands, nothing's really changed, but they have to get him back on campus.
Yeah, but Georgia's loading up. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it comes at the expense of the Gators on that defensive line. But now let's move on to Favor Edwin here for a second. He was just in on an in-season official visit, which we know is rare. It means he's a priority recruit for the Gators. And there's a good bit of buzz coming out of that trip to Gainesville, but it looks like Auburn has gotten their hooks back in on this one. How do you see this one shaping up?
Yeah, so when I talked to him after his Florida OV, he said if I had a decision, if I knew where I was going, I would have made a commitment by now. And I kind of believe him by that because he's not one of those kids that wants all the attention. You can tell in his voice that he wasn't decided. But yeah, I do have Auburn in the lead with Florida sitting in second. And the good thing for Florida is, I guess if you want to look at it that way, is Florida's been involved much longer. I thought over the summer they probably could have got his commitment they pushed. He was supposed to OV in the first week, and Florida pushed it back because everyone wanted to decide in December. So that timeline fit both of their schedules way better. But since that happened, his recruitment's blown up even more. Auburn's in the mix. So I think Auburn right now has to feel really good. I know a decision from, talking to people close to the situation that now a decision is not far off. But we'll see. I know Florida, the Iron Bowl's the same week as the Florida FSU game.
Right.
And it's going to be interesting where some of these prospects head. And he's going to be one of them to kind of track, next weekend.
All right. Well, those are the prospects that the Florida Gator staff is on the offensive for. Now, there are some guys on the defensive because that rating of the commitment list, it might not be over. But the UF staff, they're on the defensive trying to protect that number 5 ranked class. And look at this list. Defensive lineman, Amaris Williams. Tight end, Amir Jackson. Linebacker, Darius Hayes. These are all guys that are looking around that UF's trying to keep home. Let's start with Amaris Williams. It sure feels like this one's trending to Ohio State, but is Tennessee also a threat?
I would say there's still a threat, but I would definitely kind of put them in the third spot. And, all along, I know the rumor was he was going to go to Tennessee this weekend. I think that's still up in the air. But Ohio State right now, I have it as a coin flip because, talking to people close to him, people still believe Florida's in a good spot. I know he's kind of been telling Florida all the right things as well. But when you track the visits and the momentum and which seasons, Florida's going one way, Ohio State's going the other way as far as right now on the field. So I know, obviously, you go up to Columbus, he had 2 great visits. I think it's a coin flip, man. I mean, a decision could be made if he does flip to Ohio State, and from what I'm hearing, it could happen very soon. But Florida's still, pushing along. They still believe they can keep him in the class. But it's another one of those cancellations for the Arkansas game. He was supposed to be there, and then, he missed his flight. So it's one of those, you look back on it now, that could have maybe cost Florida if he does change his mind. But I have it as a coin flip right now.
Yeah, and just looking at this list, I got Amaris Williams, then I got Amir Jackson, and then I have a Darius Hayes. Just coincidentally, do you also think that maybe that goes from best chance to flip to worst chance to flip right now, would you say?
Yeah, I would probably put, Amaris Williams at that first spot as far as who could likely flip. Darius Hayes, I'd put him at the bottom, and I say that just because I know he loves Florida, and a lot of people kind of roll their eyes at the dream school thing, but when you talk to him, like, he really does love Florida through and through. I think he does have a hard decision to make. I know his heart's at Florida, but, the on-field results, he went to Alabama for a visit. Miami's still pushing. I think, in my opinion, it's going to be one of those recruitments where we're sitting on sign day waiting for him to send a letter of intent in, and then Florida tweets it out. It's like, oh, God, he signed. He's in the class. That's how I kind of view him. Kind of drama down the stretch a little bit, but not as worried.
Yeah, I kind of feel with the Darius Hayes that it's either going to be Florida or Miami. I think he's pretty locked into Florida, like you said, but you can't ignore those visits to Miami. And then we got to see if he makes it down there again this weekend for their game against Louisville and how that shapes up. But then let's hit on Amir Jackson. And I think he's probably less of a chance than Amaris Williams, but maybe a little bit more of a chance to flip than a Darius Hayes. Who do you think the biggest competition there is for Amir Jackson?
Yeah, I would probably say Auburn. Auburn's the one school I've kind of heard some buzz with. I know a lot of schools are pushing. A lot of schools are still trying to get him on campus, but he is another one. And if you look at Florida's roster right now, they didn't sign a tight end last cycle, and they said, they got Amir this cycle. Was a really quality player. New age type of tight end could really stretch the field, and that's what Florida needs. They have tight ends who are emerging on the roster. Arliss Boardingham's one, but he doesn't really extend the field as much, more kind of intermediate catches. I feel like with Amir Jackson, his commitment becomes even more important down the stretch because Florida needs to keep him in the class. I mean, you can always go the portal route, get a tight end, but I think over time, this is one of the guys, one of the players Florida's trying to keep in the class and really trying to give him that, roll out the red carpet on the stretch to keep him there.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for recruiting. Like we said, there's some players, some recruits that Florida's trying to land, some they're trying to play defense on. They've already dropped from 3 to 5, but if they can maintain it right here, that's still a really solid class for the Gators, really excellent class. So Corey Bender from Gators Online, thanks for dropping by today on the Inside Scoop.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
All right, and there's a whole lot more Florida content on the Gator Online fan site on the On3 network. Go there now and sign up for the monthly option with promo code JOSH and get the first 2 months for $1 each. This is an Inside Scoop listeners only offer. You can't get it anywhere else, and that's enough time. Those 2 months will get you through National Signing Day, where Gators Online, they'll have all the latest updates on major recruiting developments between now and signing day. I'll put the link in the description of this video and use promo code JOSH. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.